Hello and welcome to our next episode of our podcast for the IFTR conference. Today with a rather serious topic. It's about the visa to travel to Germany or the European Union in general. Therefore today we talk to Emma and Charlene, who are part of the hosting team for the IFTR conference. They are the contact persons for any questions about the visa and journey issues in general. We are glad to ask them some questions to hopefully make the whole process a little easier for you.
Now, obviously, none of us are legal experts, none of this is legal advice. We just want to give you some information, some tips, and raise general awareness that you might need a visa. So, that being said, let's start with our questions.
Yes.
So, first of all, if I'm planning to come to Cologne for the IFTR 2025, when do I need a visa, in which case?
So in Europe we have the Schengen area, and that's 29 European states who do not have any border controls in their common borders.
Right.
And when you want to come to Germany, you get a Schengen visa. So for all of these 29 states, you get a visa.
So just a single one for all the states. Okay.
Exactly. So that also means that you can travel on from Germany if you'd like to, as long as Germany is your primary destination. And basically, everyone who's not part of these 29 states does need a visa, but there's like a ton of exemptions from that, from different contracts that are in place with different states. So, for example, Australia doesn't need one, or Brazil, Japan, those are countries, for example, that don't need these. And there's like a full list of that on the website of the German Foreign Office, so you can look it up beforehand.
Yeah, I think we'll put that in the link in the show notes. That'd be good.
Yes. Perfect. So you already talked about like the type of visa. So it's always a Schengen visa for entering like the Schengen room in Europe. And how early should I start to like ask for a visa in the consulates in the state?
So you basically cannot start too early. So you are allowed to do it 6 months in advance, which has already passed for the IFTR. But as the earlier you start, the more secure it is that you have it in time for the conference.
Yeah. So with the types of visa, I read something about C and D visas. What's the words there? Which one do I need to look for? Which one do I need to ask for?
Basically, there's just the Schengen one. There are different forms to apply for one, and there you will have to choose the right one. But in general, it's just the Schengen visa.
Okay.
Most of the times it depends on the country you're living in. So that's where you have to decide if you need the C or D visa.
Okay.
Nice. And can you tell us a little bit about the documents that are required for a visa application?
So mainly you will need the letter of acceptance you got that invites you to the conference. Sometimes they want a more specific one, so we call it letter of invitation as opposed to letter of acceptance. And those we issue in a personalized way. So you'll have to reach out to us. There's a form on our website and you can just fill that out, and we'll have one that is suited for the visa application process. And apart from that, you'll need a proof of the accommodation you booked. So you will have to book your hotels before you can apply, and also your flights. So you basically need some sort of travel itinerary, something that tells the office when you are entering Germany and when you want to leave again. And then you also have to prove that you have a travel insurance with a certain amount that is covered. And also financial proof, so you have to prove that you have a certain amount of money, so you can be sure you have enough money to get around and also get out, which sadly is something they're very much interested in. And apart from that, the most important thing is that you have a valid passport, and it has to be valid not just now, also for the time frame of the IFTR, obviously. And there might be some differences depending on which embassy you're talking to, so it's always best to just to get the information directly from the mission you're talking to.
Right. About the proof of accommodation, is there any assistance provided from the host team about where you can book a hotel, or are there any rooms pre-booked where you can apply for?
We have some rooms that are pre-booked. There's a link on the website of the TWS. You can find it there pretty easily. But when it comes to the real booking process, people have to do it themselves.
Okay.
We just give them some tips
Yeah.
where to maybe book their hotels. We also have a list of hostels, so the more cheaper options for everyone.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the letter of invitation or confirmation, I think you said.
No, invitations.
Invitation. How can you apply for this, or how can you get to the letter of invitation?
So on the IFTR website, that is the Theatre Collections subsite IFTR, there's a little link to About Your Travel, I think it's called. And there you'll find a link to this form, and it will just ask some basic information. The fastest way would be to take your letter of acceptance, the one you already got that accepts you to the conference, and there's a direct link, and then you can just fill out the form, and it will ask you to then submit the more private details, because we cannot just have a contact form asking you about your passport number or some personal documents.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any specific recommendations for attendees maybe whose applications might be at risk of rejection?
Unfortunately, there's not that much we can do. One of the biggest problems is that a lot of people will not get an appointment at the embassy in time, which seems ridiculous so far in advance, but it's just the reality of this process, and there's unfortunately not much we can do. But it can also be helpful to just reach out to us, and if we have a lot of people who complain about not getting appointments, we might be able to ask the Foreign Office for some support in this. But apart from that, the most important thing is to just get everything in order, to have all the documents ready, to get informed about what do I need, when do I need it, and to just apply for an appointment as early as possible.
Right.
But we're always open for any questions, so just...
Yeah. Before we started recording, you said that you already started some of the processes which are necessary. Have any cases distilled themselves where there are special problems, like with one country or one destination?
Not yet. I mean, I do know that for the Central Iraq that they do not issue any visa at the moment.
Okay.
But apart from that, I think everybody's still applying, so we haven't really heard back from anyone if there were any issues. So as I said, the biggest issues were getting an appointment in time, so applying for that early is just key.
Yeah.
And from our experience, what we saw the last few weeks, I want to say, is really to ask your embassy, because it really depends on the country where you live in, on the information you have to have from us and what we need to implement in the letter of invitation. So it's the most important starting point to ask your embassy which information they need from us and which information they need from the person who's applying.
Which can be easier said than done, but if it's possible, that's the safe bet.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, but it's really good to know that in cases of rejection, the people can contact you anytime and ask for help. I think there already have been some cases of helping in the past for other projects in Germany. So, I think there are a lot of possibilities to help in these cases. And do you have any additional requirements for scholars or students applying for a visa? I mean, you already said, I think the most important one is to apply as early as possible.
Exactly.
To have the hotel and the flight. And maybe you have a certain example or a certain recommendation.
Yeah, I don't think there's any additional things we could advise people on. It's just important to get your documents together. And if you get rejected, don't panic. There's the possibility to appeal. It's called a remonstration, because they're looking at your documents again, and so it's not everything's lost once you get rejected. There's a possibility to still be accepted in the second round.
Okay. So maybe one thing that just came into my mind, I want to clarify. If I go to Cologne via, for example, Paris, do I have to apply for my visa to Germany or to France?
That's a great question. So no, actually you always have to apply at the German embassy near you. because while the Schengen visa allows you could fly to the Netherlands if that's cheaper maybe, or works better for you, and then go over to Germany. But since Germany is the main travel destination, you have to apply at the German embassy. And also, which might be confusing, you always have to submit the application to the embassy in your country of residence. So if you're from Sri Lanka but you're staying in the UK, then you would submit your application to the German embassy in the UK near you.
Okay.
That also means you can basically travel on if you'd like to, but the important thing is that you cannot extend the time you're here. So you have to stay within the time frame the visa allows you to.
Yeah.
But within that time frame, you can visit other Schengen countries, which is nice.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Another distinction you often see on these visa information websites is the distinction between, is it a work, is it visit, is it something else? So if you have to tick a box something, which one is it?
So I think there's an online form that you can just click through basically. And as far as I know, there's a certain one for conferences. And you can say you've been invited by an institution, that would be us. And then you put in the information step by step.
Okay.
And there's no distinction between a PhD scholar or a professor or a student. It's all the same process for everyone.
Okay.
Okay, nice. And you were talking about the time frame for the Schengen visa. Is it always the same time frame? And about how many days are we talking?
I think usually they would be granting it for the time of the conference. So since we are saying it's from the Sunday to, I think, Friday, that would be the time frame you're granted. But I think it would be possible to apply for a longer time frame. But I'm not quite sure on that, to be honest. So that's something that you should check with your embassy if that's something you're interested in, to stay longer.
I think usually the Schengen visa is up to 90 days. So maybe you talk to your embassy and talk with them how long they can elongate the stay.
And talking about time, if maybe my letter gets lost in the post, or maybe I just didn't manage to apply, or the consulate didn't manage to reply in time. If my visa arrives late, can I still come a few days later to Germany if it still works for the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. I mean, obviously no one wants to miss their own panel time where they're having a presentation, but that's absolutely something you can do. But as you said, got lost in the post, that can't happen. We send the letter of invitation out via email. Yeah. It's a real life document. We have it. We have a printout. It's signed in the original, but the international post is just too unreliable. We just cannot make sure it gets to, for example, China in time. So we'll just send out the emails, and if the original document is needed, then we could still provide that maybe to the embassy if that's really needed. But usually a scan should be accepted.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a bunch of documents going left and right, maybe even in the countries where the people are coming from, so you never know.
Definitely.
Enough opportunities to get lost.
Okay, so thank you very much for all this information. It's a lot to know, but we learned a lot from you today. Maybe we can sum up the 3 most important things we just talked about. So to clarify the process.
Okay, so step 1 is to be early, just apply as early as possible. And then you need to find out which documents you need and get them all together and submit your application. For that step, you can reach out to us for a letter of invitation, an official letter of invitation with your personal data, if that's something you need. And then you will have to get an appointment at your embassy and bring all your documents there to like a personal appointment. And if you should be rejected, which we hope nobody will be, but you never know, then you can apply for a remonstration, so they'll look over it again. And if anything happens, you can always write an email to us, which is the IFTR-orga@uni Köln, which is cologne.de. We have that linked on our website everywhere. We also have a lot of travel information on visa on our website. We have a ton of links to FAQs and a site where you can find an embassy near you from the German Foreign Office. So we have a ton of information and resources for you on our website. And if that doesn't help, you can still write an email.
So again, we will put all the links into the show notes so you can click through them. And be quick, be early, and don't be afraid to ask if anything goes wrong.
Exactly.
That was the way shorter version. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And bye until 2 weeks.
Good luck to everyone applying.
Yes, good luck.